2025 is literally my favorite year for movies ever. No joke. The average year prior to 2025, I probably watched maybe 15 to 20 new movies. This year, I watched 85 and still haven't seen all the movies I want to. Originally, I was going to do top 20, but I felt really bad leaving a couple off the list, so I had to expand it. Some of the biggest movies I haven't gotten a chance to watch yet are Sentimental Value, Hamnet, Together, FNAF 2, Zootopia 2, Avatar 3, bunch of other stuff. But most, if not all of those, will end up in my top five when I get the chance to see them. Not top five, top 25. But unfortunately, I haven't gotten a chance to see them yet. So this will be the top 25 of the movies I got to see. Even though this best of the year list is longer than I originally intended, I still have a few honorable mentions to go through. First, Looney Tunes: The Day the Earth Blew Up. It's a really good movie. The first one I saw in theaters this year, and I'm pretty sad it didn't make the list, but hopefully Coyote vs. Acme does in 2026. Jurassic World Rebirth was a really good movie, honestly. I'm tired of people hating on it. It's not good enough to make the top 25, but it's pretty damn close for how bad people say it is. It was my most anticipated movie of the year, and it didn't live up to that quite, but it was definitely a worthwhile watch. Caught Stealing had possibly the worst trailer I've ever seen, and I expected it to suck, but fortunately, it was pretty good. I liked it. I saw it on Netflix. And last honorable mention, barely missing the list, is number 26, Materialist. I loved Past Lives, and this movie was a decent follow up for Celine's Song. Not super great, but a really solid movie with good performances and an interesting dynamic between characters. With all the honorable mentions done, let's start it off with. So, this movie was my number 25, but I watched Black Phone 2 after I started writing the script, so expect that later in the list and take this as a super honorable mention. I love Marvel movies. I've grown up with the MCU, and I've seen every movie multiple times, and I've seen almost every show. But I think I'm missing one or two. Marvel movies are easily my favorite type of movies, honestly. I rewatch them all the time, and I'm tired of people saying Brave New World is a terrible movie, because it's not. It's not even a bad movie. I thought it was really good. Harrison Ford is a perfect casting as Thunderbolt Ross, and Anthony Mackie is a great successor for Captain America. It's definitely not as good as the original Captain America trilogy, but I think they did a good job with what they had. Danny Ramirez is a good casting to be the new Falcon, and I'm glad they brought back Isaiah from Falcon and Winter Soldier. He's a really well written and well fleshed out character. The action wasn't the best of all MCU movies, and I wish they casted Giancarlo Esposito in a better role, but I am almost incapable of disliking a new Marvel movie, as you'll see later in this list. After my first watch, I gave Sorry Baby a lower rating than Brave New World, but I really feel like it deserves to outplace it. I have it at a 7 out of 10 currently, but I really want to love it more. I just don't think it fully clicked with me. It definitely deserves a rewatch, and if I go in with more of an open mind, I have no doubt that I'll end up loving this movie instead of just really liking it. So, what's so good about this movie to warrant it being among the best of the year? Well, first off, Eva Victor is a star in the making. She writes, produces, directs, and stars in this movie and does great in every single one of those roles. Definitely one of my favorite performances of the year. This movie just feels so human, showing the beauty and darkness and humanity. The scene where she's having a panic attack and the sandwich shop guy wants to leave her, or wants her to leave, and then realizes what's happening and helps her is just an incredible scene that stuck with me for a while. Also, that shot at the house after what happens to her maybe goes on for a little too long, but it's justified because my mind was racing throughout that scene. Definitely check this out. It's on HBO Max, and unfortunately was not Oscar nominated, but it definitely should have been. The Gorge was one of the first mainstream movies to be released in 2025, but I didn't have Apple TV, so I didn't watch it for a while. But thankfully, every Christmas time I get Apple TV for a couple months so I can watch Spirited, and it reminded me to watch this, and I really liked it. The hate on this one feels a little unwarranted. It's a really good genre blend with some cool sci-fi concepts, and Anya Taylor-Joy is one of my top 5 favorite female actors, and I like Miles Teller, so I didn't have any problem connecting with the characters. I will say I did enjoy the second half, but not nearly as much as the first half. The first half was so much better. It just felt so mysterious, but also getting to know these characters and seeing them connect with each other without speaking and try to have fun to pass the time was just a very enjoyable watch. Also, seeing the monsters, but not in full, made it a pretty compelling story. I wish they built up the mysteriousness more instead of just showing the monsters in full like the second time they showed up. And the pacing isn't amazing, but it's a really fun time. Probably my favorite Scott Derrickson movie, too. A ton of people really loved Weapons, and I'm glad. I had a super fun time watching it in theaters, and as you can tell by my placement, I thought it was really good. But Zach Kreger does not know how to end his movies. I have a full video review of it up on YouTube, so check that out to see my full thoughts, but this was definitely a very good movie. Now, as promised, we're at Black Phone 2. I think the first Black Phone was like objectively a good movie, but I really didn't like it that much. The way people on TikTok talk about it, you'd think it's the greatest modern horror movie ever, but trust me, it's really not. But thankfully, I like the sequel much better, and honestly, I kind of knew I would. I feel like horror movies in a confined space are often not that scary, so I prefer this one's open setting. Plus, summer camp movies are always really good, and this one reminded me of Fear Street Part 2, which is actually a modern horror masterpiece. The winter aesthetic is visually really cool too, and works great when coupled with the grainy camera effect that Derrickson pulls out at times. The performances were top notch too. Mason Thames is solid, but Ethan Hawke is obviously great, and Madeline McGraw really surprised me with a great performance. What surprised me the most though was the dad character. I really liked his character growth over the two movies, and the actor gives a quietly powerful performance. Overall, it's just honestly a really fun watch, which doesn't apply to many horror movies, but it definitely does here. I finally got a Hulu subscription this year to watch The Wonderfully Weird World of Gumball. But the best thing that came out of that subscription was easily Predator Killer of Killers. What a goddamn movie. Easily one of the best animated movies of the year. Of the three segments, the pilot and Viking ones are cool, but holy shit, that samurai sequence, the greatest thing ever. The whole movie is visually really good, but the fight scenes in this segment are just so incredibly animated. Some of the best fight scenes of the year, and that's before Predator even shows up. Plus, the end with the two guys having to fight it. Wow, a full movie of just the samurai plot would be 5 stars. Everything is good in this movie, but unfortunately, only the samurai part is truly great. I feel like Mickey 17 really flew under the radar. Having just come off of Parasite, Bong Joon Ho made a very different movie this time, but definitely still a very good one. Overall, the movie's pretty well made, but again, it's just a fun movie. Robert Pattinson gives an incredible performance, having to play 18 different versions of one character, and at one point two at once, interacting with each other, and it feels pretty natural. This universe takes place in the universe this takes place in is pretty cool, and the creatures are pretty unique. But besides that, I have like literally no justification for why I gave this the rating I did. I really enjoyed it and thought it was good, and that's really it. I love Paddington. Nobody loves Paddington like I do. He is my favorite. I'd never seen any of the Paddington movies before 2025, so I did a marathon and I was so charmed that Paddington 2 is one of my favorite movies ever, and I've seen it only once. I heard that Paddington in Peru was not as good as the others, but that's definitely not true. Check out my Paddington ranking to see more of my thoughts on the movie, but please watch on Netflix so we can get like 50 more Paddington sequels. This is a weird one to rank. At one point, as you can tell by the rest of my channel, I was absolutely swept up in the hype for K-pop Demon Hunters for like 2 weeks or so. After a little bit, I just started posting the shorts associated with this movie because they average like 20K views, and you got to do what you got to do for views. But aside that, I do like this movie. I've seen it like 10 times now. I think 8 of those were in 1 month. And this is not good enough to justify watching it that much. I just watched it so I could find things to make videos about. From the movie itself, it's beautifully animated, a unique concept with decent lore and fun characters to follow. The soundtrack kind of fell off a cliff for me, though. Golden sucks. It's awful. Takedown is pretty bad, and how it's done gets worse every time I hear it on the radio. I've never loved Free, but I find it getting stuck in my head a lot. What it sounds like in Your Idol are still great, and I'm not even sure how to feel about Soda Pop anymore. I haven't rewatched this in a while, and I have it at 5 stars right now, but I can almost guarantee it'll go down to a 4 next time I watch it. You've definitely seen it by now, but it is definitely worth a watch. I haven't seen much of Guillermo del Toro's filmography yet, but I love the guy. He's so personable and really knows what he's doing when it comes to making new movies. His newest adaptation of Frankenstein is really, really good, great even. I have no doubt that it'll get better on rewatch. Elordi gives one of the best performances of the year, and I always love Oscar Isaac in everything I see him in. Every single shot in this movie is incredible, especially that one of Elordi walking on the ice towards the sunset. If you know, you know. The set design is incredible, best of the year, and hopefully you'll earn some Oscar noms. The general atmosphere and feeling this movie has is just incredible, and it's so well realized. I love the gruesome depictions of trying to turn dead body parts into a living being, because it's rarely ever depicted as gruesome in the Frankenstein movies and shows and stuff. It's normally shown as fantastical, but it is a truly gruesome thing, and I'm glad Guillermo del Toro actually included that aspect. Dude, Freaky Tales is like the coolest movie ever. The highest 4 stars I could possibly give any movie. I love anthology shows and movies that have interconnected stories, and this is the best example of it. It has a lot of great but lesser known actors, and of course, the main draw is Pedro Pascal, plus, there's a funny cameo from Tom Hanks. The first story has great chemistry between the main two characters and a fun fight at the end. The second chapter was just really random and like not the same as the other three. The other three stories all had fighting, and this story was a stupid like rap battle. Chapter 3 was centered around Pedro, so of course it was great. Plus, this is the one Tom Hanks shows up in, and is a really tragic and incredibly well made story for part 3. And to round it out, Chapter 4 was by far the best. I feel like describing what happens is enough to explain why I liked it so much. So basically, what happens in this fourth story is an NBA player's family gets murdered during a robbery. So to get revenge, he uses his samurai sword and mind powers to kill all the people involved with the robbery. It's literally the coolest thing ever. I need to rewatch this movie ASAP. It's so criminally underseen, but it's currently on HBO Max. So if you take one thing away from this video, I hope that it's to go watch this movie. Great stuff. Reaching the top 15 and finally getting to the 9 out of 10s and above, and the lowest of the extremely good 9 out of 10s is Superman. After my first watch, I couldn't have imagined having this outside of the top 5, but a lot of good movies came out this year. With that said, I only have like 2 real complaints for the movie. First off, the first 45 minutes are generally pretty slow and boring a little bit, which would be fine, but it's the first movie in the new DCU, and they don't build up like the DCU that much to justify the slow pace. Secondly, the editing is kind of bad at times. It cuts from one scene to another rapidly before you have a chance to unpack the scenes. Thankfully, that doesn't come up too much, and the rest of the movie is great. The soundtrack is incredible. I thank James Gunn for putting me and many other people on the punk rocker. And 5 Years' Time was a great song to play during Gunn's signature quote unquote musical fight. He does at least once a movie. It isn't one of his best one of those, but that's not saying much because they're always great. I also really, really love the beacon of hope that Superman represents. Corn Sweat plays Superman perfectly, and his speech with Lex moved me to tears. And he really represents the hero that Superman truly is in the comics and other Superman media. One of my favorite scenes of the year is Superman rising from the smoke with the excellent score playing in the background. Despite the large cast of characters, it doesn't really feel all that overstuffed, thankfully. And I rarely laugh at movies, but I laughed at a couple jokes in this, even on rewatch, mostly because of Nathan Fillion's performance as Guy Gardner. And Nicholas Hoult, speaking of performances, is the best Lex ever, and I can't wait to see more of him in Man of Tomorrow. The Peacemaker cameo was also great without being too distracting. There's some solid cinematography at play and a really well written script. The scene in Lex's prison dimension where Superman is trying to escape the black hole and save baby Joey, that slow motion shot is incredible. So much so that my eyes were glossed over at the sheer magnitude of the scene. Also, of course, I cried a little at Clark's I'm as human as you speech. Corn Sweat is my Superman, and I couldn't be happier. Honestly, I might have talked myself into moving this up the list, but it's kind of too late now. But maybe on rewatch I will. Fantastic Four was, to say the least, fantastic. It feels pretty different for the MCU, and I like that they could just make their own superhero story without having to conform to the rest of the universe for a change. I reviewed it on YouTube when it came out, so check that out because my opinions on the movie are mostly the same, but I do have some things to add here. First, I do have some negatives like pacing and script at times, but that's really it. I love that this movie is a love letter to comic books, paying homage to Marvel's first family and first big comic series. Plus, that space chase sequence is like the most visually stunning scene ever, better than all of Interstellar. This might be an extremely controversial take, but here we go. Tron Ares is great, like really great, amazing even. I have not seen the other 2 Tron movies yet. I plan on watching those soon, and I haven't rewatched this one at home, but watching this in theaters was a great experience because visually, this is the best movie of the year. The grid and the light cycle chases are so visually stunning, and the red lighting just looks amazing. Some of the dialogue is less than, and all the real world scenes that take place in the daytime aren't great, but I like basically everything else. Nine Inch Nails scored this movie really well, making something unique, but also keeping the spirit of the other Tron soundtracks. And people say Leto sucks in this, but I don't get this at all. I think he does a great job of portraying a robot becoming a human. I honestly really enjoyed Evan Peters' performance, and I was really happy to see Greta Lee in a big franchise now. A lot of the fight choreography was great, and I really liked the Jeff Bridges cameo. The old style Tron world was really cool. And my favorite scene from the movie was the chase scene between Greta Lee, Ares, and Athena. But if I took one thing away from this movie, it's that Evan Peters should play Zuckerberg in Social Network 2. It's perfect. He would fit that role so well, and he looks more like Zuckerberg than Jeremy Strong does. The month leading up to it coming out, I was extremely hyped for Running Man. In 2025, I watched every single Edgar Wright movie, most of them for the first time, and can comfortably say he's currently my favorite director. Plus, I've always loved the concept for Running Man, and the cast for this movie is incredible. All that taken into account, this was probably the most hyped I've ever been for a new movie, and thankfully, to me, it didn't disappoint. The start is kind of slow and really corny at times, and the end is just good, nothing special, but that middle of the movie is some incredible stuff. The best part is easily the whole sequence with the hotel, easily some of the best action of the year, and puts this movie into contention for best stunts. I like the side characters that help Powell out after the hotel scene, and Michael Cera is pretty fun too. Brolin is a decent villain, Lee Pace is a solid side villain, and at the end of the day, a rewatch will most likely kick this out of the top 15, but I just had so much fun with it in theaters that I don't want to rate it any lower. Man, I really wanted Long Walk to make the top 10. I tried so hard to get it in there, but I just couldn't justify ranking it over any of them. Stephen King adaptations were really great this year, with these two movies plus Welcome to Derry all being 9 out of 10s for me. The Monkey was one of the worst movies I've seen ever, but at least the other three were good. This entire movie is just characters walking, yet the movie manages to craft some of the most tense, emotional, and gripping scenes of the year. Some of the gore in this is insane. Obviously, so many people get shot in the head, that's a plot point. Plus, that one guy whose ankle broke and he's walking on it sideways made me wince so bad watching it in theaters. I love seeing Mark Hamill and stuff, and he was great in his limited screen time. But Cooper Hoffman and David Johnson were the real standouts. Cooper Hoffman was a great lead, and David Johnson will become one of the greatest of all time one day. He is absolutely phenomenal in this. The emotional moments hit you like a punch in this. I was sobbing when Hank died, and especially at the ending. Oh man. Great movie. People love it, and it still doesn't get enough love. This is another movie that people probably expected to be higher, but One Battle After Another is still an incredible movie, definitely deserving of the top 10. I'm really happy I got to see this in theaters, especially because it's most likely going to win Best Picture. And at the time I watched this, it was my first PTA, and I really need to see more stuff by this guy. I have a decent amount of negatives, like the score is genuinely just bad. There will be a scene that demands like a fast-paced, exciting score, and it's literally just hitting a piano key every 3 seconds. The plot got a little convoluted at times, and there's some shots that hold for way too long, and some scenes were a little anticlimactic, but that's it for the major flaws. There was a couple minor ones that really aren't worth mentioning. Actor for actor, I think this probably has the best or second best performances this year. Leo, Chase Infinity, Tiana Taylor, Sean Penn, Benicio, and everybody else are all incredible. It's hard picking a favorite because Chase Infinity and Tiana Taylor are both really great, but I'm leaning towards Chase as my favorite performance of the movie just because she's in it more. The action is really good, like there's one shootout that took my breath away. It was pretty predictable that Sean Penn was Chase Infinity's father, but I think it was a good twist for the characters themselves to find out. I really liked that Mo Bamba was a part of the soundtrack too. I reviewed this on YouTube, so check out the video, but it is a very, very great movie, and you've probably heard great stuff about it already. I had no idea what my opinion of Begonia was going to be going into the movie because Yorgos makes some really weird movies, and the only one I had seen previous is The Lobster, and I didn't love it. As you can tell by this placement, I did love this movie. It's weird for sure, not nearly as weird as The Lobster, which was so weird that made the movie worse, but definitely weird. Emma Stone is really good, obviously, she's great in everything, but Jesse Plemons is absolutely incredible. The first half of the movie is really interesting, seeing what the deal is with his character and trying to figure out how Emma Stone is going to escape. But that descent into madness in the second half was super tense and just incredible. The movie grips you so much that I felt like I was in it. The scene with Don is insane. I could literally feel the gunshot. My jaw was on the floor, and the noise of it made me jump out of my skin because of how engrossed in the movie I was. The only thing I'm mixed on is the ending. I really don't know how I feel about it. It was kind of obvious that she secretly was an alien the whole time, but the predictability doesn't really take away from the movie. It's how they executed the twist that has me a little mixed. It recently got added to streaming, so I definitely need to rewatch it because I feel like I didn't fully unpack everything on my first watch. You are not ready for the epicness that is Neja 2. I didn't get around to watching it until like 2 weeks before this video comes out, maybe 3, and I'm so happy I didn't wait any longer. I watched the first one so I could understand this one, and it's fine, but this one is better in every single conceivable way. Animation wise, this might be the best looking movie of all time. If not the best, definitely top 5, but don't make me pick. The first half isn't great overall, even though there's a couple great moments within it. There's still like the babyish slapstick that leaks in from the first movie, but that's basically it. Everything else is incredible. The scope is much bigger. They made the villain so much better. The score is so good, and even the movie poster is better to match that. I might need to get this movie poster to hang on my wall. It is genuinely a piece of art. It looks so good. I didn't see the twist villain coming, and he's a great overall villain. Not only does he get time to be evil, but he is genuinely very evil and very powerful, and it makes him hard for the heroes to defeat. I'm shocked at the gore in this kid's movie. There's a little bit of blood, but the craziest part is that there is a mother and a baby getting burned to death in lava. Are you serious? What animated movie is doing that? It's such an incredible way to really increase the stakes. The weapons the characters fight with and the creatures they fight are so well designed and creative. And speaking of the fights, wow, the action is incredible. Some of the best animated fight scenes of all time. Also, that one scene where they see the dragon's body snaking amongst the dark clouds and then it disappears for a second and then pans up to see the dragon staring at them is such a cool scene and legitimately terrifying. It's so creative, too. Like I said, the weapons and creatures are, but also the spells and stuff. This freeze spell isn't a typical freeze spell. It's a spell that makes you not able to move because needles shoot out from underneath your skin. And if you move, then the needles cut through you and rip you apart. Like, that's so cool and inventive. All that said, nothing else in this movie compares to the final battle. Every single shot from it belongs in an art museum. Final Form Neja is like the coolest character design anybody's ever had, and him riding in on the head of the dragon is so cool. I'm so unbelievably hyped for the third movie, and while it'll probably take another 5 years to come out, the wait is absolutely worth it. Man, I wish I had gone to see 28 Years Later in theaters. I didn't watch any of these until Years was added to Netflix, so I figured I'd do a little mini marathon, and I didn't love the first. I think the second was a little bit better, which is kind of controversial, and this one is one of the best movies of the year. At the time I'm typing this part of the script, I've already seen Bone Temple, and it's at a 4.0, while this is at a 3.4 on Letterboxd. Are you serious? This one is clearly better. Bone Temple was great, but I couldn't possibly say that it's better than this. I don't even know what to say. It's just one of the greatest zombie movies of all time. Some of the best special effects I've ever seen are present here. Like the zombies pulling the heads off with the spine attached is so cool and so brutal. The great performances across the board, great action, yet very strong emotions at its core. There's nothing more I can say. Just please go watch it on Netflix because this needs to be loved by more people. I love murder mysteries, and while Wake Up Dead Man isn't my favorite of all time, it's definitely my new favorite in the Knives Out franchise. Out of all the non-Benoit Blanc protagonists in the series, Priest Josh O'Connor is my new favorite. His character is really well written, being genuinely devoted to his priesthood and putting it over solving the murder, even though he needs to solve it to prove his innocence. And speaking of priesthood, I think the church is my new favorite setting in the franchise. I hate pretentious religious movies, and luckily this isn't one. I'm not religious at all. Technically, I grew up Catholic. And I think this movie does a great job of showing how corrupt the church is, but also showing that with the right priest, religion can still be beautiful. The cast is great, obviously. I love Josh Brolin in this role, but I especially think Glenn Close was incredible. I'm surprised I didn't really hear her name in Oscar talk. I personally think she should have been at least in the talk for Best Supporting Actress. I love Jeffrey Wright. He's not in this much, but he was good when he was on screen. At the end of the day, this is just a really fun and really well-made movie. I'm definitely going to be rewatching it sometime soon. Also, the line, "You are heir to every penny but not a dime," that's a really cool line. Starting off the top five, all movies I consider to be 5 stars, we have Marty Supreme. Easily in my top two favorite A24 movies. I liked Everything Everywhere All at Once a little better, but I've only seen each of them once, so who knows, maybe Marty Supreme will be my favorite on rewatch. I did give it a full video review, so check it out because I haven't rewatched it since, so my thoughts are basically exactly the same. While I was shocked to see that F1 got nominated for Best Picture, I am extremely happy about it. I don't even really have all that much to say about it. It's just the most epic movie I have ever seen in my entire life. I haven't seen Joseph Kosinski's other movies, Top Gun Maverick and Tron Legacy, but if all of his movies are like this, he might be my favorite current director. I've never watched F1 or any kind of racing because I've always found it kind of stupid, but this movie makes it look sick as hell. There were times when I was literally gripping my seat hoping JP or Sonny would pull through and win. I got genuinely stressed when JP's car flipped. Some of the most fun I've had with a movie all year. Also, Sonny Hayes is the Chris Paul of racing. If you know, you know. Jay Kelly might just be the most underrated movie of the year. It sucks that it got no Oscar nominations. On rewatch, this might become one of my favorite movies of all time. But for right now, it definitely deserves to be one of my favorites of the year. This is my first Noah Baumbach movie if you don't count his co-writing on Madagascar 3. BoJack Horseman is my favorite show of all time, and this is the closest thing I've ever gotten to it since. Like I said in my extremely long Letterboxd review for this, for a movie to be amongst my favorites of all time, or at least achieve a 9 out of 10 rating or higher, it not always, but typically does these three things. One, makes me cry hard. Two, makes me contemplate my life. And three, makes me reminisce or feel nostalgic. And this movie does all three. I really love George Clooney and Sandler's performances. Man, I wish Sandler had gotten at least an Oscar nomination because he definitely deserves one. This movie lets you feel the emotions that Jay does, the regret, the longing, the loneliness, and the wanting to feel quote unquote normal. The characters often say that nothing feels real, but this is one of the realest feeling movies I've ever seen. At the end of the day, people don't like this as much as I do, and unfortunately, it won't get the recognition it deserves because it got zero Oscar noms. But I will always love this movie. It's an incredible movie and easily one of the best of the year. Also, I love that Isla Fisher, Patrick Wilson, and Greta Gerwig all have extremely small, basically cameo roles in this. Thunderbolts is the only movie that I have ever seen twice in theaters in 1 year, and it warrants that. Every MCU fan has already sung its praises, but this is one of my top 5 MCU movies of all time. Every character in this is so entertaining, and to me, this is the best team origin movie Marvel has ever made. Yes, better than Avengers, and better than Fantastic Four. Red Guardian is super funny. Him and Yelena are probably my two favorite MCU characters right now, but I love all the other characters in this just as much. This is the first movie post Endgame that had me genuinely really excited for the future of the MCU. This is one of my new favorite movies of all time. Florence Pugh gives such a great and committed performance. I can't say enough. This movie is so important to me, and I couldn't be happier it came from Marvel. This really feels like an indie movie more so than most, if not all, MCU movies. If you've watched this far, you probably noticed that a pretty big movie is missing. Sinners isn't nearly as good as people say. It's better. I honestly consider Sinners to already be one of the best movies of all time. This movie will be talked about for years to come and will go down as one of the best films of the century. The way music is incorporated into the story without taking away from the actual plot is perfection. And the scene where different generations of music blend and genres of music blend together is the defining movie scene of the year. This movie got nominated for 16 Oscars, and there are still some places it didn't get nominated that I think it deserved it. It should win every single one it's nominated for. Nothing I can say can justify its greatness. Just go watch it. You definitely have, but if not, watch it. I guarantee that this is my longest YouTube video ever up until this point, but hopefully you enjoyed it. This list isn't gonna be fully complete. There's still a lot of movies that came out last year that I want to watch, and by the time this video is uploaded, I guarantee it will have changed. So click the description, check out my Letterboxd, and I will update a list of my ranking for the year so you can see if it changed at all. But let me know what videos you'd like to see in 2026, and let me know your favorite movie of last year. I have a ton of videos planned for 2026, so stay tuned for the rest of the year. Thanks for watching.